Yep.
So Jeff, first of all, we know you're a busy dude and you got a lot going on. So thanks for taking the time to just sit down and chat and share your insight with us. I've been following you online since you first reached out and we first made contact. And
Like
you're just
3 hours
great.
ago, right?
That was just 3 hours.
3 hours ago, right?
You're full of really good energy, great insight, and lots of information and knowledge for people. So we had you on today because we really wanted to talk to you, obviously, about your platform, the things that you're working on, and how you're helping people in the electrical industry. And then we also wanted to talk with you about the concept. This was an idea that you had. This basically trading in your time card for your contractor card, right? Like the idea of what are the differences in your day to day when you do go from just being an electrician working for somebody to an electrical contractor working for yourself, because there are a lot of differences in the way that you think and the way that you approach every single day. So good stuff to talk about. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, no, dude, are you kidding? Truth be told, I reached out to you guys as soon as I found out about you guys, and I was like, and partially, I always give credit to Dustin for getting into YouTube.
Yeah,
I can tell you that story. It's kind of funny. And really getting into the podcast. So it's kind of funny how just that works. And that is it. You know, you guys started this platform. You don't know who you're going to reach, what it's going to do in other people's lives.
Yeah.
Just, again, Doug, some of the funny stuff that you do. You know, I was playing it to, I played it to my wife. Of course, she doesn't find anything electrical.
Playing it to my guy.
Oh, yeah, Rudy, my guy he was taking me to the airport when I was flying back. And I'm like, hey, Rudy, do you know these guys? Yeah. And, it's just, but again, he just
touch in
what way, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool, and that's how I'm here.
Yeah.
I kind of rest, and then platform.
Yeah,
my platform. You guys got the lifestyle. I mean, everybody's got their niche. A couple. I won't drop names, but I will. But I'm not a union guy, so I'm not going to do a union. Stephen, Matt Electrician, who I talked to several times, has got that niche, and I went. Specialty is honestly the business of electrical, plain and simple. Greatest electrician. I'm not the greatest at code, but my brain thinks, business like I've had before I opened this one. And I said, get the niche because it wasn't there. And I've helped so many of my own team in years in brick and mortar. I've got a dozen guys that left me and started their own business, and I'm still friends with them, except one. I'm friends with every single one of them. They call me up, chat, and we always talk. And so this is the niche to get in. And so that's kind of how I started it. It's really, the pitch is electricians that want to become electrical contractors and want to level up. And that's it.
It's a great pitch. Yeah.
The thing you said in there that stood out to me, and I should let everyone know I'm getting over having lost my voice. So if you hear me sound a little bizarre today, that's it.
He went to a Beyonce concert.
Just screaming.
Love it.
So what you pointed out there is the fact that you are still friends with people who used to work for you.
Yeah.
We were talking about that earlier today and how rare that is in this industry.
It is.
And what makes it hard for people going out on their own to learn about this stuff is the fact that the resource you would have does not want to connect with you, does not want to help you in that way. In fact, I was telling a story to Doug earlier. Yeah, exactly. I used to work with a guy, talking to the boss. His name will remain unsaid, but
sure.
A friend of mine said, they're talking 5-year goals. My friend says, well, I'd like to work for myself. And later on, the boss tells me, he's like, why would he say that to me? It's like, well, why wouldn't he say that to you? He's trying to be honest and transparent, right?
Right.
But that's just like, that shows the mentality that boss is like, you better not tell me you plan on working for yourself.
Right.
It's like, if I could legally fire you right now, I would.
Yeah. Right. And that's how it is on YouTube, though, with us creators. I reach out to creators and they're like, you're my competition. What are you talking about? Everybody should single one of our channels because they get something different. Can I tell a story really quick? When I got back into the When I got back into the trade, I walked into the largest contractor, electrical service contractor in Los Angeles. Anybody from LA is going to know who that is. And 15 years ago, they ran about 15 to 20 vans and about employees, and they were everywhere. They had $100,000 a month. I walked in, and they said, well, why are you? And I said, honestly, I went to trade school. I graduated. I got my degree in electrical construction and maintenance. I go, trade, and I just want to learn it so I can go on my own. And the guy said, you're hired. See the difference? This guy's a multimillionaire because he said, fine, you're going to leave anyway, but I got a guy that's going to be motivated as hell to look, to sell, to do all these things. And sure enough, within 3 months, I became a top sales guy.
Yeah.
I sold over $1 million of in-home service. That's recessed lights. Give me some troubleshooting, changing out panels, but nothing like new construction where it's per project.
Yeah.
Now we're in LA, so some of these Beverly Hill homes I remember doing manager, and I can drop names all day long on stars houses that I've been in and all that. But I remember doing like a landscape lighting job on Brad Pitt's manager's house, and the man is on that, right? So it was
Brad. Got to see Brad coming up that walkway, man. You can't every second. You got to be able to see Brad.
Yeah, we had some pretty good. I had Slash for a long time.
Is that right?
I have Charlie Wilson, Gap band, but now he's blown up in himself. He's a huge R&B. Does stuff with Justin, Pharrell, all these guys. So
that's
anyway, I'm dropping names.
Fun of working in the LA area, or if you're like talking to Stellman. Michael Stellman works in the New York area, and he's always in somebody's house or something. That's just how it is.
It's good stuff. Like, Debbie Gibson.
Yeah,
keep dropping Debbie Gibson.
Deborah, thank you, thank you.
It was funny.
We're not talking.
I won't tell that story.
We're not talking Lost in Your Eyes, Debbie Gibson. We're talking the Electric Youth, Deborah Gibson. You didn't know I knew those deep cuts.
Yeah,
I didn't. I didn't. I didn't
know I did either.
I don't even know who they are. I'll be in front of their face, and then my guy will be, do you know who that was?
It's probably for the best. That's for the best. Like I think they probably appreciate that more.
Is their check back just real? Is their cash printed from the U.S. government? Then that's all I care about. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway,
sure. Okay.
Yeah. I did the niche. I truly have a passion to help people. You can see it. People say, dude, you're just like a freaking. I got shingles. That's why. And shingles, if you stop talking and yapping, it starts itching. Never stop talking. I will constantly. It's true. It's a true story.
Shingles is like the rickets of
had a thorn in his side, and he asked God to take it away. I think he had shingles because
that's
it's a motivator.
God was like, did you have chicken pox? Then the shingles virus is already in your body.
Today's energy brought to you by shingles. That's
yes. So yeah, that's what I do, and I did. I cut to start the YouTube channel, and my mentor, just knowledge that blew my mind, and then this before I was actually in the tire business on the internet, and so it was kind of like second hat. I've always been a tech guy, and if people watching this have no idea, so I live in Montana right now, and I'm 1,200 miles away from my brick. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm not saying it to prop myself up, because if you truly know me, I'm the humblest guy. I give information for free. I got to monetize some of it. Blessed, man. 16 years. The marketing I learned really early from my other businesses. Phone rings nonstop, and our clients are and I teach that and I preach that. Like when you're just starting, my clients should you go after the McDonald's, and they go, what do you mean? Well, McDonald's, if we're super busy, economy was booming, especially a year ago. I don't have time. Here, let's show your audience what I'm eating. Burritos. Why? Because I'm slammed, so I don't have time. Well, I got to go through the drive-through at McDonald's when times are good. And then when times are bad, I don't have any money in my pocket. I'm going at McDonald's. So McDonald's is a recession-proof client. Well, you're not going to work for McDonald's, but you can work or the landowners, those people that build fast food restaurants. And those are the things that I really want to teach. Sure. Because people don't think about that, and I do.
Sure.
And I
not
think
going anywhere. Yeah.
I think next year, I'm already done. I've already got locked in for 2023. I just went to LA to get signed up for 2024 and maybe even 2025. And like that. So that's what I really want to teach people, because if I first started out that day when I clocked out of my punch into my electrician card, those are the things you got to start doing. You got to change that mindset. Talk way more about that because it's huge.
So you got into the trades, and you went to school, and you came back in and you worked for this company. What was you clearly, since you've owned companies before, that was the move, is like, you're like, this is my method to get to owning my own company, right?
Yes.
So you knew you were going to do that. So when you first set out, you're like, okay, time for me to do my thing. what were the big, like, because you had done that before, what were the surprises in the construction industry that were different, things you had to think about differently from being the person with the tools on to the person running the company?
Yeah, the pay cut, straight up. That was like the first, because now and there's a whole method on how I did it, which I would love to share. The first thing was the reality of I just had a perfect. I had insurance, I had benefits, I had certain things. My wife, and that's why I got back in the trade, by the way, because I had sold my last company. I wasn't working. My father-in-law, I'm Armenian, she's Armenian, and he goes, "I don't have a job. You can't marry my daughter." I'm like, "Job? Come on, bro." My company, I'm living off the funds, and they was getting little, and I'm like, I'm running out of money. So I went trade, and that's why I did it. And so when I jumped ship, she had a job with LA Unified School District, so she and full benefits, like the best benefits in the world, and that lined up because people watching here is like, sure, you had it easy. No, I mean, I had to wait. I had to strategically plan these. So when she got the job, and it was literally just before we got married, so I'd already worked for that company for about a year. So that planning things had to fit. While I was working for that other company, making great money, I'm a service fan. While I was working for that company, I took a piece of my and I started building my inventory. While I was at that company, I never stole anything from them. Although once in a while, when we had material, like there's only 100 feet of on a roll, this company would just throw it away. I'd be dumpster diving for that 100 feet of wire.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I got set up that way. Of course, I knew it was going to be a drop in money because this is a paycheck that's coming no matter what. And I knew it was going to be like, and so that's probably the scariest thing, I think, for most people. And by the way, my coach I have over 300 signed up. I wish I can get to all of them, but I do. One question is pricing, but number two question is for those that are about to jump, they're like, how? And I'm like, oh man, let me tell you. So the biggest thing is that the getting over the fear of, are you going to make a living? Are you going to make money? So I think that's the biggest point. And then I can tell you how I overcame that, but
well, let's talk about the money part for a sec, because I feel like in our industry in particular, there is a level of like, if you're going to jump and you're going to do your own thing, I think we're in a lot better shape than somebody who's going to maybe start a retail business, maybe a brick and mortar where they're selling wares. Like
you have to buy large machinery or like printing presses.
That's right. Or like lots of inventory and overhead. Now, we should also obviously state that there's a million ways to do it. Like your business model in Los Angeles is very different than Lumen Brothers here in Maryland.
Absolutely.
And that's a beautiful thing because we all can come at it from a different, so number one is you are going to take a pay cut, but also in regards to money, Josh and I talk about this a lot. There's a mindset of like employee mindset versus entrepreneurial mindset in regards to just thinking about money. And what I mean by that is like when you are in the employee mindset, my wife's family is like this. They're very like job, they're blue collar folk through and through. So like their whole mentality is like, get a job. The hours you put in at that job equate to the amount of money that you get at your pay period. And that's how you think about money. So it's like, well, if you need more money, go get another job, work more hours at your job. Right. But when you get into the entrepreneurial world, you do have to think about money a little differently. It's different how you attain it. It's different how you keep it. There's lots to it. This is just kind of an outside surface look at it, but wrapping your head around that difference in, like, you end up getting, we're an S corp now, so we're on payroll, so our pay, we're back to the section of getting, a steady paycheck, but we own the company, and so profits are something to think about. How do you reinvest in your company? Where does that money go? And just all of those things, taking the time, like when you start your own company, you're really kind of trying to effectively buy yourself more time because you need that time to put back into the business. So so time, when you're an employee, time equals money in respect to like a 1-to-1. Time in equals one money. With the business, time is money in a different way, where it's like if you can stack some money, you just bought yourself some time.
You know, because it's possible when you run the business, if you're working long hours to get jobs accomplished, you may make money that way, but then you lose the time it takes to make the financial decisions and the business growth decisions to expand the business. You're just going to be stuck working long hours to make money, and the growth potential gets lost.
Yes.
So
what I
like,
preach, exactly what I teach in coaching. So you guys hit everything because, again, here we go. It's a real thing. We're in the same business. Like, this is a cool part about electrical. We speak the same language, but we're in different states. So everything is true. So what you said works. So when I jump ship, there's a couple things that if anybody out there is listening right now and you're ready to be Lehman Brothers, at the Bay.
Lehman
So
Brothers.
you guys eventually will be Lehman Brothers and own the bank, right?
We'll take
so
over.
if you're going to be Lehman Brothers, the electric, I say when you're ready to go, get all that up, right? Then what I call, and a guy on YouTube, I think, stole it from me, bro, because I'm serious. I've been preaching about this forever. You get your first whale job. And what's a whale job? It's exactly a job that buys you time. So you hit the switch. You've done 360electrician.com, right? No, you got your marketing. You got everything set. You got everything done. And then you hit that switch and say, I'm going to go. And that's what I did. So I ended up getting a bare bones complete. It was about a $30,000 job back then. And I said, that's going to take care of me for the next 3 months. And once I got that, I INR'd to my boss. I gave him my 2 weeks notice and I left. And that job was exactly what I needed because, and you're going to be there 4 days straight, then you're not going because the plumber is going to be there and this is going to be there. And you got all these gaps. And the point of that being is when you fill those gaps in, because that 3-month job is paying your bills, you got confidence, you're set, your mortgage is paid, your bills are paid. Now every time hustle and you get those in-between jobs, it really is almost like pure profit. And that's what just took me to the next level. And I never, ever look back, and praise God, I've never been in the red. I'm going to say the C word because then we'll get banned from, YouTube. But during that time was the most successful time I had because again, we were up, we were running, we were, we did everything right. And then we were prepared for it. So that's one is get your whale job or get prepared for that. And then, it's not. So I coach people. And so when I coach, the first thing they ask is, I don't know if I'm bidding right or what's my pricing. So that would be Josh right there. You're all of a sudden you're going from $35 an hour and then you're charging $75 an hour and you're thinking, dude, I'm going to, but
that's side job thinking.
It is
exactly. That's handyman thinking is what I call it. And I get some beef for it, but it's true. And then I sit down. So 60% of the people, if I did this with 100 people, and I've probably done it with 100 of my coaching clients, 60% are charging too low, whether that's $1 low or like sometimes 25, 30.
I would have said higher.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's about 60. 20 are charging. Why the 20 are kind of charging right? Well, my question is, and I got only one coaching client that was pissed off at me, and I'll tell you why. And I go, so I'll ask them. I don't ask them how much they charge because I want the coaching to be real. I want them to do the numbers, and I do everything based on their numbers where they're at. So Doug, when you said Maryland's different than LA, sure. What do you pay a journeyman? What are your taxes? Are you in a blue state or a red? Political, but it's the truth, right? And so we go through the numbers, and I teach them a simple 5-step method, not an Excel sheet, not anything. It's plain and simple. You need to make money for every quote unquote billable hour, right? And so I find 60% are charging way too low. Because again, when they come to me, they're like, dude, I got a guy I coached just the other day. It's his first year and he had $88,000 in sales. I think that's freaking great. It's not like Los Angeles where, that might be one project. And he goes, but I pretty much made nothing. And we did our coach $20 an hour. Well, you do the math. You lost it. And so
all profit.
Yeah, exactly. And then 20% are in the zone, and 20% are charging more than once we get the minimum. But the difference is out of that 20%, only 1%, not even 1%, know why they're still charging that. And they're that's the going rate, or that's what my competition charges. And I said, okay, well, are you landing, how many jobs are you landing out of 10? And they say, well, only 4. Right, because you know why? They have no overhead, no truck payment yet, no nothing, but they're charging what that guy is like me maybe, and he has a warehouse and he has this and he has that. No, you should be charging based on you. Don't worry about the competition. You got to only worry about yourself. And so, I'll go through all of that, man. But it's just, how do you find that out? How and you ask that other guy, hey, bud, how do you price? What do you?
Big middle finger, right?
That's what these platforms. That
Well,
We've been lucky. We have somebody we can talk to.
But it's true, and I think you do see it. Like we have, there's examples of all. Every time you run into somebody who's gone out on their own, and we all know tons of teams. Everybody's got a different approach, and it tends to be what you've experienced. It tends to be a replica of what you've gone through. So a lot of us will start and be like, well, this is what we did at the company I worked for, the companies I worked for, and this is how they ran it.
If you did residential work, you become a residential electrician, kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of, but just like number wise, like saying, well, this is what we charge an hour. Well, and that was how we started too. It was just like, where should we be? What does that look like? And sometimes when you're getting started, it's good to that's not a bad way to start, because
of course,
sometimes you don't know. And then it took a little while for us to get numbers to look back on, to know where we wanted to land, so that we could go backwards and say, well, these are what our numbers need to be in order to land where we want to. For sure, what your numbers look like. Once you know that for sure, let me keep going there. Once you know for sure what your numbers look like, it's a lot easier to tell somebody what your numbers are, because even if somebody doesn't like them, or they're like, that's out of my range, you can just say, okay, that's okay. You don't, instead of being like, well, let me sell this in a way that only works for you, and not for us. It doesn't work that way. It's like, it's got to be a good deal both ways. Yeah.
Best thing ever. And I have a couple of I think, that one I kind of like. I have these sayings that I should probably market. One of them is like, be the lead, don't pay for leads. And we talk about that. But the other one is, I put it on a short, when your employer nicer cars than you do, right? It's because you're giving a discount, or because the customer said, well, you're too expensive, can you do better? And you said yes, you gave your money away. Because when I do my pricing, you can't pay your guys less, you can't pay Uncle Sam less, you can't pay, the only place you can take money is from, remember, you guys own Lumen Brothers, so you can take it from your business, take it from your paycheck because you're the owner, right? And so it's this shift into a wow moment, which most of the people I coach go, wow, like I never thought about that. I went in and I said, my price is 400, and the guy said, well, 300 if you do it. And you go, yeah. And then I show them, where'd you get the $100 from? And they go, oh, you're right. No wonder my guys got new cars and I couldn't afford it this year. And so that's a big problem. And again, I do simple math. I used to call it stupid math, but I guess I'm not stupid. I did that to humble myself. I go, look, I want to teach you stupid math because this is the way I do it. So I changed it to simple math. I don't go to Excel worksheets. I don't do anything. If you guys see anything on my channel, it's not penned in, but it's almost guaranteed. We signed up some pretty nice projects. I mean, really nice. And they go, well, how'd you bid it? How'd you bid it? I bid it the same way as I'm going to bid 4 recessed lights in your residential versus these jobs that are 750, 800,000, just the electrical. I bid it actually the same exact way. I don't have a bidding team. I don't send the numbers out to some guy. I don't have my own takeoffs per se with my team, because if I did takeoffs and it came back, what's the first thing we do? Well, let's make sure it's correct.
Right.
Well, then why bother, So it's pretty crazy, but it's all a learning curve, man. And it's tough. It's tough. I mean, we couldn't do it on one video. We couldn't do it on 10 videos. It's just that learning process, like you said. And clicking on all these YouTube channels, and instead of driving and listening to crap, I used to listen to a lot of garbage. But when I worked for that other company, I drove at least 2 to 3 hours a day going call to call because I was a sales call. The only thing you would ever hear in my van is sales CDs, business CDs, reusing the right words. I tell it all the time. It's not me.
What are these CDs you're speaking of?
CDs, right? MP3s. CDs, man. It's crazy. Okay. And again, like guys, like, hey, if you sign my contract, we can get started, versus, hey, can you okay my paperwork and we can get started? All these little psychological things. When you said it, when you go from that time card into the business, you got to learn these things, because without, you're going nowhere. You could be the greatest electrician. And I said that too. We're all great at the trade, but we suck at business. And it's the business you better be good at, not the trade. Because look, am I great at the trade? You don't want to see my panel in my own house that I did. Spaghetti? Anybody? It's my own house. Do I care? I do, but I'm an ADD guy. I just want to get it done because I got 15 things.
ADD panel.
Yeah, but sell that panel, who cares what it looks like? You know what I mean? So I'm better. I can always find someone better than me but you can't find someone to run your company. So,
Of course.
which is why you have Josh, Doug.
That's right. That's right. No, I mean it's fair to say that, all of these models are functional. Like people listening might be thinking like, well, I want to start a company too. And this is good information to listen to because I can kind of understand a little bit more of what to expect. There's a lot of ways to do it. You could go out there and take out a loan and invest and start with the big company. Whatever the case, there's lots of ways to do it. Josh and I did it the opposite, where we just bankrolled it and started small with one truck and just started picking up jobs. So there's lots of ways to go about it. I think the most important thing is that you're just ready for it, because it's like there's so many of us in an instance where we're working for somebody where we're like, I could do this better than this guy. Like this, they don't, this place sucks. Like it's disorganized and their communication's terrible. They don't care about. How many of you out there listening right now feel this, are like, nah, they don't do this. We don't do that. We don't have this. I see these other people doing. So you think I'm going to go do this myself. And I would say that if you're already running jobs for the company you work for, that's really, really, really important, because some of the things that are the hardest when you turn in that time card and pick up your contractor card is when you're the one who's making all the decisions. It gets real hairy sometimes. It definitely, it's all on you. Pass or fail, win or lose. It's sometimes
that's that fear part. Yeah, it's the fear part.
People need to, I think, best put, if you're considering going out on your own, people need to have a little humility. Be ambitious, but be humble, because the reality is, look, you might get to a position where you go, oh, that's why my boss did that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's why I didn't get a bonus. Oh, that's
be careful what you wish for. You're going to be. I don't preach side jobs, because eventually someone's going to do it and think about how that's going to feel. That's just my motivation.
Work in the field, and they hand their company's invoice to a customer, and they go, "Wow, that's how much this company's making right now."
Right.
It's like you don't know numbers.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean you can't do it, especially when you get someone like Jeff to teach you. But the reality is, it's like, just be open to the fact that you're going to learn how much you don't understand right now. And you get to pick out the T-shirts, and you get to make the culture and stuff. But be humble to the fact that there might be a reason why the company you work for does it the way you're doing, or they're doing it. And you may find yourself doing what you always said, like, what your parents do that you always say you won't do. You're like, oh, that's why they do that.
How much does commercial auto insurance cost?
Right.
General liability insurance cost? How much is workman's comp? How much is my permit fees? How much is my state tax? How much? It goes on and on. I did that one video. I don't know if you saw it. It's a little funny one. Being a contractor, easy. Yeah, my boss makes a buttload of money. Did you guys see that one?
Right. Yes, I saw that.
Yeah. Get ready. Seatbelt, it's not, but listen, at the end of the day, do you guys regret it?
Oh,
no.
Exactly. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
I think people need to be open to it, because so we have a couple guys that we run into in the supply house. They started at we always talk about them. They're great guys, but they started at a similar time to us, and they're doing it completely differently, and they're getting completely different results, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But also, I think when you offer some ideas to them, they're completely closed off to it. Completely closed off. They're like, I would never do that. I don't mess with Facebook, or we don't really know computers. We're not doing a website. And it's well, if you're not going to be open to it, those are the crops that you're going to reap.
Absolutely.
So,
I got a big middle finger from someone here in Montana. So I didn't tell you on the flip side. So I've got my company in LA. I've got of course, the YouTube I consider a separate company now. And I've been kicking back and forth whether I'm going to open in Montana. So I already got my master's here and my unlimited days away. And, and so Josh, exactly what you said. I said, hey guys, I don't want to do contracting. I really don't. Why should I? I've got a good gig here. I got a great gig in California. But you know what? You know me, that shingles keeps itching and I got to keep going, right? And so let me reach out to some of the biggest guys locally and offer my service, help them train. I'll sign your non-disclosure, non-compete. I got no problem with that. And And half the people were open to it and half the people gave me this.
Yeah.
And so, because now I'm getting like, you really got me motivated, right? You know, there's so many things that as a business person, I automatically think of like, dude, your money is tied to Montana. I open tomorrow. I'll do everything for cost for the first year. Have a nice day. Like, you know what? You better be careful. You got to think. You got to go with humility. Anybody and everybody that reaches out to me, I thank them. I say, awesome. It's not for me right now, but I want to keep that in the back burner. I don't be like, dude, get out of here. Don't waste my time, because I don't knows this guy, or quote unquote, like I said, you know, and I'm going to go heavy commercial here. And there's only a few commercial guys, and one of them gave me the finger. I'm like, who do you think I'm going to be competing against? Yeah. My money's not tied here, right? So I can do it for anything. And anyway, so it's a long story, but it goes with humility, and I preach it all the time. Humble yourself. Here's another reason. Remember, all of us, once we're electrical contractors, we only make money for one way, unless you're doing YouTube like us and you're selling shirts at the swap meet. You're trading electrical work for money. But I say you're not trading the electrical work. You're trading a value, a perceived value for money. So when you level up the perceived value you can give to people, then you're going to level up the money you're going to receive from them. And you just have to be this much better at doing that than your competition. Not cheaper, because maybe value is cheaper to them. But most of the time it's, and I say it all the time when I say, just explain to the customer how you're going to install something, because the last guy probably didn't. And you say it as a sales pitch. So, hey, guys, you know what? What I want to do is I want to go up the wall and then come down behind your kitchen cabinet, because if I do and I have to open wall, you don't have to pay a painter to patch that. It'll save you some money. Well, you're already going to do that. But now what you told him was these key words of, hey, it's cleaner. You don't have to pay more money, and I think it would look nicer. But you see that value? And now, guess what? When I throw that number that happens to be $300 more than my competitor, they might say, yeah, he's a little bit more, but boy, this guy's really on top of it. I always say, throw in that USB plug charger next to the nightstand when you're redevicing. You know, do those little things, give value. And these are things that when you're an electrician, my guys too, God bless them, I love them to death, but they're not in there going, well, what else can I sell? You know, well, wait a minute, the smoke detectors look yellower than my teeth. You know, it's been there for 16 years. Why didn't you sell a smoke detector for $79? I would have gave you $25 commission just on that one smoke detector. And you could say it as much as you want, but when you're punching your time clock in, you're not thinking about those things. But guess what? Start thinking about it. I tell people, approach their bosses. Say, boss, I want to make more money. If I start selling extra work, will you give me a piece of the action? I would say, hell yeah, I'll give you the piece of the action. Right. And so it is when you get out of that time clock, you're going to start thinking about that. So start doing it now, so that when you do jump ship, you got all that mindset in. Anyway.
I agree. I liken it to, and we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but going out on your own in business is a lot like when you have a kid, and Josh kind of touched on it, right? It's like all these little things that, like you were saying, when you know, people are like, oh, my boss is stupid and this company's a bunch of dummies and blah, blah, blah. That's what kids say about their parents. Your parents are dumb. They don't know how to do it.
That's a good point.
They're bad parents. Right. Never, you know. And then you mess around and have a kid, and you are like, I don't know how to do this. Right. And before too long, who you calling? Your dad and your mom and the jokers who you thought were dummies. Because you're like, oh man. You know what? Well, the first time I had a kid, I realized how hard I was on my dad. That was the first thing that hit me. Was like, oh wow, I'm the dummy. Like I took for granted the fact that he was just a dude doing the best he could with the limited knowledge he, you know. And that's kind of the point, is like you just said it, Jeff. It's like when you're in this house and you could upsell, you're not thinking about that, because you're thinking, and I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm not saying that your kids like that, but that mindset would be like how your kid would think about, like, I'm not cleaning that up. Those aren't my dishes. And it's like, if it's your house though, it's you know, you don't want people coming in your house and seeing your house a mess. And there's all these other things that,
But that's what it is. You just said it. It's mindset.
Yeah.
It's all mindset.
Yeah.
You know, so where are you at with your mindset in terms of going into business for yourself?
Yeah.
Just, are you still employee mindset, but you want to make more money?
Right.
It's like, that might not work out.
Right.
More money is possible, but the mindset has to change.
And are you the kind of person that while you're working for somebody, you assume responsibility for your mistakes, and you give credit to your team when things go well, right? It's like, are you a good leader in the first place? Because no matter what you say, if you're the type of person who likes to lean on blaming everything around you for not living up to your expectations, you're going to find out really soon after going into business for yourself, your expectations are to blame.
Yeah.
And the only thing that can correct them is your accountability to your actions to change that. And
that's especially important to the new generation. Sorry, guys. I mean, this is an old fogey now, and you guys are getting older in age because you got kids. I mean, if you're out there and most of my subscribers that are electrical contractors are in their 20s and 30s. They just started out because obviously they're seeking the information. And of course, they're more techie. They're going to find me versus somebody that's 50 that just started, right?
Right.
You guys, the new gen out there, man, nothing's for free. I mean, you got to hustle, you got to do it, and you got to not take it for granted. There's no more blame game. There's no more. When Uncle Sam says, give me my money, that's when reality really kicks you in the ass, because that's when life gets serious, right? So far, you've been living under your parents' roof, your other company's roof, right? But as soon as you're under your own roof and you're paying that bill and they shut your electricity off, you're gonna know it. You're gonna grow up really fast.
I agree. And I think there's a lot of things, just like that analogy with parents to kids. I think when you're an employee, there's so much that's outside of your control that you just kind of maybe end up shifting blame to that, because it's like, well, that's outside of my control. So there's like nothing I can do about it. Well, you'll realize that too when you start a company. There's still things outside your control. And it's really stressful, because if you don't manage the expectations around the things that are outside your control, somebody might just look at you like you did something wrong or that you messed up, and that's your reputation. And so you've got to, you'll learn, like Josh said earlier, you really got to be humble and open to learning, because if you're going out on your own, you just basically invited the universe to come kick you in the balls.
Exactly.
It's going to happen. It's the only way you're going to learn is to get in and learn.
And the universe is so ready to kick.
Legs already cocked back,
right?
Ready to go.
And that's why I just got rid of mine. I don't have any anymore.
I need to do the same. It's just like, I think that it's the mindset that's really the big game changer. I think I think you got to be ready to like grow a lot if you're going to do that sort of thing. You got to be like, if you don't read books or listen to books on tape, if you're not listening to podcasts from people who are trying to offer you, like, and if you're working for somebody and you're driving around in the truck and you're getting paid, be doing that.
Hell yeah. They're paying for your future success, right?
If you mean it, if you really think you want to go out, I mean, obviously, if you're listening to this already, you're way ahead of the curve, and that makes perfect sense. But like, you got to,
and you never know when you're going to jump ship too. Remember, a lot of people might start this and go, oh, well, I'm never going to go on my own. You never know that either.
That's true.
I got my master's and I was sitting tight at my company, and I knew it was in the back of my mind. I knew it was an option. Doug and I had kicked it around before, but then once the moment struck that we wanted to do it, it was like, we got to do it. Yeah. And so I was ready to go. I have to be ready to go, because what do they say? Luck favors the prepared mind.
Yeah.
It's like, so.
Very cool.
Gotta be ready.
Yeah, and there's so much to learn. Like I said, I mean, there's so many avenues to talk about, but I just appreciate you guys having this channel as we're winding down, I think, right now. I'm just kidding. But as I say it over and over again, I'm a big content
whore.
Yeah. I'm also an information whore. I just give it away, right? I love to hear things, talk about things, and just network. Don't think that you're in your area, everyone's your competition. I don't believe in competition. No. I don't believe it. I believe that, competition levels you up. It sharpens your sword, right? Iron sharpens iron. Getting in and just learning whatever you can. Yeah. Check other people's advertising. Check Google listings. See how they're up there. Find out how they did it, why they did it, But, again, I think you're right, Doug. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already ahead of the game, because there's those people that don't. There's people that don't even, they just opened and they didn't do the back homework, and those are the ones that aren't going to survive. And I know a lot of people that didn't survive.
Yeah, and it happens. And so, like, in particular, the duo that the guys Josh was referencing, like, there's so many pitfalls that you can run into when you start a company. There's so many. There's so many opportunities where you could fall. And so I think it's important to just put the things in place that are within your control, so that the things that that could take you out are less, or
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
like for
minimize it.
example, even if you're not techie,
Mhm.
have a website, have a landing page. It's not rocket science anymore.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like have a
And it's
place
cheap.
where
It's
like-
cheap to have someone else do it
Yeah,
nowadays.
it
Well,
is.
and that's the thing. It's like as a business owner, what you have to get good at is finding people who are good at things
Yeah.
and utilizing that.
That's
right?
right.
So it's
Exactly.
like even if you, yeah, it's cheap to pay somebody, but also you probably have like a niece or a nephew or a cousin
Exactly.
that can do it for $100 in a case
Yep.
of beer. It's like whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Your job as a business owner is to now find, if you can't do it, find somebody who can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say this, though, based on that, start with Joe Burnich over at Big West Marketing. I mean, he is top notch. He's not the cheapest. He's not the most expensive. And a lot of people that I come because they get free coaching with him once they do anything with me, you know, a lot of them do say, I can't afford that. And then I always ask the question, do you have anybody exactly like that? And they go, no, no, no. And then I find out they're like hired somebody to do it on Wix. And I go, I get it. Understanding that is trajectory to the moon. The moon is where you want your company to be, as in your brain, as much as you can, 5-6 years. Well, if you're doing stuff here because I'm not doing it right, you're off by a millimeter. By the time you get to that 5th year, you're miles. Well, your hundreds of miles are hundreds of dollars per se. And so sometimes you do have to sit back and say, hey, do I spend money on coaching? Do I spend money on a marketing course? Do I spend money going to? You got to really think what's best for you. Again, I would say you're right, based on Maryland, based on Arizona, based on LA. What's the best thing for you? But do it, bootstrap it. Do it while you're a company. You know, don't cheat them, don't steal from them, but you're stable. Right now is that time to start building it up. And everyone, the economy is going to crash. I hear the economy is going to crash. It's on your own. It's actually one of the best times to go on your own, because guess what? If you do it right and you get in, people buy when you and I are thinking the economy's crappy, because they see opportunity. And if you're lined up with those people, you're lined up getting locked up for 2024, 2025. I got the call from one of the developers that go, hey, Jeff, we got 6 buildings. 2 of them are 30-unit apartments with mixed use, 3 houses in Malibu, a 10 condominium complex out in Covina, right?
Wow.
Because
A lot of work.
lumber's crashed, everything, of course, except cost. Like I predicted it was. I had to eat sand on that one. But he's ready to. This project's been sitting for 7-8 months. And I'm going, am I going to get what?
Yeah.
Finally, I got that phone call because things are crashing. So new electricians are going to panic. They're going to freak out. All of a sudden, no homeowner's going to call them anymore because homes aren't selling because of interest rates. But did you line up? Did you watch coaching? Did you spend the money in the right places to the right people so that trajectory is correct? People that have done it for years and years and years. So much to talk about, but like I said,
also, I think it's important too to know what kind of marketing is right for you. So like, like with Lumen Brothers, we're small, and we want to stay small. We want our what we are doing is a very client direct, relationship based, value added service. And so when we were first starting, it was kind of like, well, what does marketing look like for us, right? And so we reached out to a local team that is co-owned by a friend of mine, and sat down with him and his partner and just trying to talk to them about like, well, what does this look like? What and their questions were like, so if we could get you to the top of the Google search for X, Y, whatever phrases, would that be good for you? And I was like, no, that would be devastating for us. If we were at the top of the Google searches,
20 calls a day.
It would do nothing but piss people off, because
We'd
people
have to say
could,
no all
we'd have
day
to say no
long.
to everybody.
Exactly.
And it would
Smart.
just make everybody mad.
People
so you
don't-
don't want to.
They would have said, hell yeah. They do.
But then you're growing to keep up. And look, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your move. But then you're growing fast to keep up with that demand.
Yes.
We have a rule here. Growth has to be the solution, not just something that happens.
Yeah.
If you want to be growing, grow.
Yeah.
But if you step back and you look at your model and you're only doing it because it's what someone tells you you're supposed to,
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
and
Right.
stop.
Are you is the growth stressing you out?
Yeah.
Is it putting you in a world that you don't, or because Jeff, you talked a little earlier about the zeros, having the zero with your family, that extra zero at the end of the one. There's a couple ways to get there, like with being your own boss and running your own company. There's a number of ways to get there, and one of them is what you're doing, which is you're establishing this world where you're creating work for people and you're managing it. And then another way is to do what we do, which is like because we're small, the flexibility is built into that size.
Yeah.
But you've just got to, I think you got to be aware of that kind of stuff, because you can see dollar signs. If you're looking at a job or you're looking at an opportunity, you're like, oh, dollar signs. But do you have are you sized right for that project? Do you have could you get through that because if you're not, you're going to be paying money. You're going to be eating that shit.
If we took on the 30 apartment scenario,
we'd lose our ass.
It would be trouble.
Yeah.
This is the funny part. So when I get some coaching clients that come in, I coach because I want to know how I can get into commercial. I want to do commercial. And I go, great. So how many man team? Oh, you have a van or truck. I have a Honda Civic. For, hey, how about start changing some light bulbs for grandma and build up? I'm not knocking you. God bless you, but it's that.
Yeah.
Do you know that if you get a $40,000 commercial job, depending California, 10% or $1,000 as a deposit. So if I have a $40,000 job, I can only get a $1,000 deposit. You know what? They want like 50%. I'm used to 10%. Do it. And so I go, how are you going to finance that? How does that look for you? You might not get a check from a big corporation. You're hit it exactly on the head. And there's nothing wrong with what you guys are doing, because now that, first of all, you guys are younger than couldn't do the work, but you're in that point of your life where you guys are building your brand, and that is almost bigger in an area. I'm sure. I don't know how. I don't know how much people in your town area. Couple, not that much, right? 100,000.
We looked it up recently.
100,000-ish.
It's more than you think. It's booming right now.
We're just growing.
I call that, and we didn't even talk about that, but electricians are in the unicorn stage. I'm so busy. I don't need coaching. I don't need advertising. What happens tomorrow when the banks crash and nobody's calling you because you didn't prepare in the good times? But anyway, exactly. But you know what? You guys are in, and I'm 100,000 here in Montana, exactly the same.
Yeah.
What you guys are doing is exactly what I would do here versus something totally different in LA, because I don't care about I got to get every commercial job. Nope. Here is the slow go, and then you just start getting that market share one job at a time. As long as you price about that. Imagine, if you don't price it right, and now you did 20 jobs, but you realized, oh, I didn't make any money off those 20 jobs.
That's right.
Well, we were talking about that earlier today. It's like pricing is more valuable than a lot of guys mix up. They conflate the concept of being busy with being profitable. And it's like working a 10-hour day does not mean you're making money.
Yes.
And working 60-hour weeks does not mean you're making money, but they think it does.
Sure.
And it's like, if you're keeping guys busy, that is great. But the reality is, I will take a profitable 4-hour job over a loss for a 10-hour job.
Absolutely.
All day long. And that's what
and we also told you who he doesn't. They're getting their hourly. You or your company's going to lose. 100% true.
So we have been so focused on dialing in our pricing, who our customers are, and what we're doing. And we are taking shorter days for better profit over just being busy all day long.
Because you're also not afraid to right?
Yeah.
That's and it's proved to be, and let's say that to the people who are going out on their own. Saying no has proved to be one of the hardest things.
Exactly. That was my problem for the first 4 years.
Contractors.
Yes.
It's like, you get people that'll call you up, want you to come out, and you'll say that, oh, we're busy for 3 months, and they'll argue with you. And it's like, there's other guys you can call, but saying no seems to be the most common theme with what we have to do.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It is, and it's a big. It's like you have to say no to some extent.
If you don't, then you are right back into a position where you're working for somebody who's not you. It's
that was me. The first 3 or 4 years, no was not in my vocabulary, and I was like, dude, you find out that those are the crappy jobs, that you're like, oh man, and then the customers that just don't want what you're worth. I never lose a customer. I still give them a coupon or a cash discount, and I still will try to save it, but I'll never go down to the that they want. And then I know the back end, of course. I teach clients say no, and I have the rebuttals for them. And so great it for my guys. And then we charge. We didn't even get into pricing that much, but we charge daily labor rate, period. And then we break that down into a 2-hour job, 3-hour job. But then once you get to the 4, it's half a daily labor rate. And if you sell that at a minimum, you're 100% golden. You're making the money. Your goal in life should be to love customer, give them as much value, and then get them. So
that's right. I mean, and it's not, I think just back to the first point, and the reason that I really wanted to talk about that, like that, wrapping your mind around money differently. A lot of us are blue collar folk. I mean, we all work in the trades, and everybody's got a different background, but a lot of us are like blue collar, meaning like we grew up around people who work for a living, and like money is seen as a thing. It's like you work and then you get money. And so like wrapping your head around some of the pricing, or the way that you price, like for example, charging hourly versus per item, per unit, right? For example, like say you're going to do a handful of items in a client's house. You're going to change some lights. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Well, you could just go, well, let's do it hourly and say it takes you 3 hours to do all that stuff. Well, you just made 3 hours worth of work for 3 hours worth of work.
And be happy.
Right. Or you
in my opinion,
you price it per job, per task. So this replacing a GFCI receptacle in this scenario is this much money. Replacing a fixture in this scenario is this. Those are our prices, and the client can a la carte it. They can prioritize it, or they can just go all in and go with it. But that, they see the value in that. They see us because we're breaking it down. We're giving them prices up front. We're walking them through the steps up front. And we make the money we need to make on the back end so that our company is profitable, and so that we're not. The worst thing in the world is busting your ass and knowing the whole time you're not going to make money. It's like, what did I do?
And it's those become the nastiest too. You're like, damn, I gave money, and if sure enough, this one became the pain in my rear.
Yeah,
the one
but so now you're switching from employee to owning the company. You're going out on your own. Now another hat you're having to wear is, and this is for a lot of people who still work in an old company, but the reality is you're now working. It's people skills. You are now interacting with other humans, and so flat rate pricing versus hourly. All you're doing there is managing expectations. So a person is way happier to give you $400 when they know that's what they're going to pay you versus $400 when you hand them a bill.
Absolutely.
And that's simple psychology.
Absolutely.
But so it's all communication. So if you're going to go out on your own, you better be ready to communicate well.
And that's key too. If you charge hourly and you just went on, how are you going to work on your business while you're there? Well, you're going to have to take text messages. You're going to have to do that. Customers eyeballing you saying, what the hell? Thank you. And so guess what? Now you lost that repeat business 100%. I did something here at my house and I paid hourly. It cost me about $8,000 more, literally. And I'm like, how can you're allowed to make mistakes, but frickin' learn from them the first time? Don't make them. Don't charge hourly. Is my number one, because they don't know what things cost. When I say your total $3,890, they knew an electrician's not cheap. They fuck that up, great, and your margins are greater and everything. And now when you get a call, they're not eyeballing you hot. And I tell them, if it's a day and a half, I say a couple of days. If they say, well, how long is it going to take? Well, we're going to try to get it done as fast as possible. I don't loophole us with time or an hourly rate ever. Because again, as a new company, when you're on, oh crap, I got this great service call. They're not going to hound exactly what you said, Josh. They know what they're going to get. They know what they're going to pay. Give them a little extra value at the end if you did mess up, and say, hey, listen, while I was doing it, it was a no-brainer. I had to throw this in for you, or contractors, big deal. Now, and you're golden. And then I told you about this. I rip up $100 bills.
You did say that, yeah.
So, Josh, you never heard this from me. So, hey, guys, Doug, I appreciate you guys. You're great customers. Can I give you and your friends and family a free gift that I know will give them some value? And you go, yeah. And so I take out $400. I don't literally do it. You're going to have to spend some money on my channel, right? In my marketing course, because I'll teach you. But I'll take out $400 bills and I'll write your mom's name, your friend's name, and your I'll bills in half. I'll give you half and say, give that to your mom, your brother, your sister. If they call me, I don't care if it's a service call or full-blown work, I'll put the half together and they could use it towards that work. Have a nice day. I leave. Because they love me. They're going to recommend me. I got 10 clients from this client. Shoot, I polished their shoes and I took out their trash. They love. And when you leave and you don't rip up $100 bills, and then all of a sudden your kid fell at school and they're rushed to the hospital. You drop everything, you go, you're there. Thank God your kid's okay, but you come back at midnight. Down, dude. Jeff, the 360 electrician, is not my brain anymore. It might be when I have a conversation 6 months ago, but if I ripped up $100 bills and I look down on the counter, guess what? And so I tell everybody, make one client into 3, 3 into 9, 9 to 27. After that, I'm not that smart. It'll happen. And within 1 year, you're taking your business you started today to within 1 year. Because if you saw 30 clients and you ripped up $100 bills, 30 it's not going to be 90 by the end of that year, but it'll get clients and 10 more hundreds. And then, they're going to leave that $100 bill on their refrigerator, right? They're going to use it sometime.
Yeah.
Competition didn't do anything. They just said, thanks very much. And they left. These are such important concepts. And that's my last pitch, right?
Right on.
That's my marketing course.
That's beautiful. Well, where can people, so everybody who wants to learn from you, follow you, tell them where they can go, how they can find you, and where is the most valuable information, bang for the buck.
Got it. Well, the free information is obviously on YouTube. You just, in the search menu, here's the funny part, guys. This is crazy. So if you just go to YouTube and you've never looked me up, just type in electrical contractor. So I'll show up. But obviously, if you put the @ symbol, the 360 electrician, my website's www.the360electrician.com. I have my email list. I send out a bunch of free information all the time, quarterly, this and that. Those are the ways to find it. Now, for anybody listening, your viewers a coupon for the rest of the month.
Sure.
Any of my courses, that's my ultimate contractors, the ultimate paperwork for electrical contractors. I have a discount on coaching, and soon to be the ultimate paperwork for solar contractors. If you type in Take 50, TAKE, all capital 50, you need those courses. So just a little bonus for everybody there.
Wonderful,
and
man.
Leave some feedback. I mean, they just need. My channel is driven on feedback. If I get feedback that say, Jeff, I got feedback from a very good said, Jeff, can you please make a course on bidding? You've never done that. Coaching, my number one question is bidding. And I said, yeah, why do I keep, verbal diarrheaing it and spending my time? So I'm going to put that into a course format and we'll put it up there. Same with you guys. I'm sure you subscribers. Hey, that was great. Can you talk more about this? Can you talk more about that? So I need the feedback. Of course, it helps the algorithm, but that's not what it's for. It's to get the information you want. Don't be afraid. Every YouTuber, every content creator wants you, the listener, to tell us what you need. And if we can offer it or we can supply it, then that will be our next video. And it's just a good way to go. Because again, Josh, like you said we're afraid. We don't ask the competition in the whole. Ask away. That's what YouTube is for. That's what podcasts are for.
Yep. Well, thanks so much, Jeff. Thanks for all your time, all your expertise. You got awesome energy, and
I appreciate it, man.
We're cheering for you and want the best for you. Yep.
Likewise. And if you're listening to this on my channel and you subscribe to The Modern Electrician, either on YouTube, with yours is at The Modern Electrician with some squiggly numbers. I don't know why. You guys got to fix that. You know how to fix that? I'll help you.
Yeah, help us.
Not anything. Podcasts, Google, Spotify, and Apple. You guys are on it, obviously. I got you guys on Google Podcast. You guys, you're a 360 Electrician fan. You got to be a fan of these guys because I love them. Go see the videos, laugh, and just have a good time.
Yeah, man. That's what we're all about. Work culture.
That's what being an electrician is. Not a job. It's like being in Disneyland, man. Come on.
It is like being in Disney.
How stinky is that job?
Did you know that they have a code for over the PA system for when people are dumping urns of dead loved ones in Disney, because so many people love Disney.
Oh yeah,
They'll bring a loved one, loved one to sprinkle them there. They're like, it's like a code 27 in progress.
Oh my gosh, I believe it.
Because of how much it happens.
So are you saying that we have a deadly? I don't know what you're saying there, but yes, I do know they have the code.
I don't want to get sprinkled at Disney. I would be if I was being sprinkled at Disney, I would want it to only be like in the food court. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just in the salt shaker.
Food at the food court. All right, we're going way off, my friends. Guys,
yeah,
I love you. I appreciate it. Exciting. I know we're going to do this again, and I'm inviting you guys to my podcast. We just started that, and so yeah, that's next.
All right.
And
Awesome.
we'll figure it out. Awesome, man.
All right.
Appreciate you guys.
That sounds great. Thanks,
See you,
Jeff.
buddy.